All these old ancient guys that were running the world were not really hip to what was going on in terms of internet debate. And it went on for 20 years almost unchallenged by, if you like, censorship. Now they've realised that the only way they can defend their position is to censor the internet and silence the truth. And of course terrify any journalist for telling the truth, because frighten them into losing their meal tickets, or even, as Pilger has said very, very wisely, if they can get away with snatching Julian Assange out of anywhere in the world and taking and putting him in an American dungeon, and him disappearing for 20 or 40 years, dying in custody or God knows what possibly. I mean, what journalists can want to try and take the risk of that happening? That would be foolhardy. That would be like smoking cigarettes, riding a motorbike, and climbing up a big ladder when you're 85 years of age.
Yep. This simple document will get Julian out of jail in 5 seconds flat. He is being denied his inalienable right to habeas corpus and trial by jury. His own lawyers are backstabbing him. They will not tell you his rights. This habeas corpus gets you out of jail and puts you before a court, a real court, with his consent. The only way a judge or a magistrate can have any jurisdiction is with your consent. He has never given his consent to be without a jury, so therefore he is in jail unlawfully. Julian Assange must know his rights of habeas corpus.
Julian!
One of the interesting things that I've noted about everything that we talk about here at the Julian Assange gathering outside the town hall in Sydney on Friday nights is, one of the many things we've talked about is the fact that Kevin Rudd made some very interesting comments about Julian Assange, and we've talked about it a lot. I want to talk about it again quickly, but I want to say why. People say that, Julian can do some of his time, serve some of his time in Australia. I'm saying why? He doesn't have any time whatsoever to serve. He needs to be made free immediately. And I like quoting this thing from Kevin Rudd because it backs up what we say, even though we've said it many times. It says here, if the US prosecutor's case is essentially that Mr. Assange broke the law by obtaining and disclosing secret information, then I struggle to see what separates him from any journalist who solicits, obtains and publishes information. In other words, why should Mr. Assange be tried, convicted and incarcerated while those who publicly release the information are afforded protection under provisions of the US Constitution concerning press freedom? Ultimate responsibility for keeping sensitive information secure rests with the governments. The United States government failed to effectively secure classified documents relevant to the case, and they failed to secure those documents in a big way. So people say Julian has time to serve. For what? Please tell me, for what?
And we hope that you'll be remembering the actions of Western elites and politicians and the media who've completely deceived the population, the public, regarding the facts of this matter. And I think it's fair to say the reason we're all here is that we believe in human rights and sensible justice, and that if the citizens of the world don't stand up for sensible justice for all the other citizens in the world, we well might find ourselves living in a kind of dictatorship situation, even in the free world. We're looking at the future of surveillance, of all of us. We're looking at digital passports where political officials and public service can control where we can go, all under the basis of protection. And it doesn't seem to me it's really protecting us from anything. It seems to me it's protecting them. So we need to stand up for human rights for Julian and for everybody else, and that's why we're here. We're here every Friday at 5 o'clock, and we hope to remain here until they set him free with reparations.
It goes on, it's like a merry-go-round. The media, politics, backed by the judiciary, around and around on the merry-go-round we go. And kept in ignorance we will be by the media. We are not going to be happy until the perpetrators of the crimes against Julian Assange are themselves behind bars.
Julian Assange is an Australian citizen and a journalist, publisher. And we're here because he is an Australian, but it wouldn't matter where he was from, we'd still be standing up for him. And if he was your son, we'd be standing up for him too. Why is Julian still in jail? He won his court case in the Magistrates Court in January last year. He's been in Her Majesty's Prison Belmarsh for almost 3 years. Augusto Pinochet spent 18 months under house arrest in the United Kingdom in the late 90s while he fought his extradition. Pinochet persecuted leftists, socialists and political critics, which resulted in the execution of thousands, the internment of up to 80,000 and the torture of tens of thousands of people. Julian Assange published information in the interest of the people. He won a Walkley Award and a Sydney Peace Medal for the same work that he's been held in Her Majesty's Prison Belmarsh for, at the behest of the United States. Assange committed no crime other than to embarrass the powerful by exposing their corruption and their crimes. When Julian was arrested, Scott Morrison stated that he would receive no special treatment. His treatment, however, has been special indeed. The Australian government has treated Julian Assange very differently to other Australian citizens who have benefited from the Australian government support. James Ricketson, David Hicks, Peter Grest and others have all benefited from the support of the Australian government. A petition to Maurice Payne, Scott Morrison, Mr Karim A.A. Khan, Chief Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, and Mr James Stewart, Deputy Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, has been signed by almost 700,000 people and was started by Philip Adams. I urge everyone to sign the petition and demand the release of Julian Assange. In part, it reads, the Morrison government is instructed to follow Liberal Party policy procedure where extenuating circumstances, the Prime Minister will intervene and make high-level representations to their ministerial counterparts in jurisdictions where an Australian's human rights are being violated. This standard procedure was witnessed in the intervention of then Liberal National Party Prime Minister John Howard after Barnaby Joyce's raising of the matter concerning habeas corpus in relation to David Hicks. The same occurred with the Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull intervening at the March 2018 ASEAN meeting when he and his team raised the matter of James Ricketson with Hun Sen of Cambodia. Ricketson had been detained on espionage charges. So, to be clear, it is standard practice and procedure that an Australian Liberal Party Prime Minister directly intervenes in situations of exceptional circumstances. To me, it seems the Australian government would rather put relations with the Five Eyes countries ahead of their own citizens. The relationship with the United States seems to be of utmost importance to them. To me, this is un-Australian, immoral and wrong. It is time for both parties, both major Australian parties, to stop the namby-pamby rhetoric and take real action to demand the release of Julian Assange. If they're willing to allow this travesty of justice to occur to a multi-award winning journalist, what would they allow to happen to the rest of us? Do we think that the Australian government has the best interests of the people in mind, or do they have their own interests of cozying up to the leaders of the United States and the UK? The President of the United States could not remember the name of our Prime Minister in a press conference and called him that fella from down under. If he couldn't be bothered to learn the name, or at least write down the name of Scott Morrison, do we think he holds any citizen of this country in anything other than complete contempt? Do we think that if the chips are down, the United States will come to the rescue of this country or its people? They are willing to charge a journalist with espionage. They are willing to shut down any dissent. We need to put our citizen first. Julian Assange once said, every time we witness an injustice and do not act, we train our character to be passive in its presence and thereby eventually lose all ability to defend ourselves or those we love. Don't stand by and watch a good man be destroyed and not act. Call your local politicians, call Maurice Payne, Scott Morrison, Anthony Albanese and Penny Wong. Talk to your friends, be active, don't be silent. Free inmate, our mate Julian Assange. Thank you.
Free! 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 Inmate!
Our mate
Julian Assange!
Inmate! Julian Assange! No extradition!
No extradition.
Good evening, everybody. We're here to try and bring your attention to the plight of Julian Assange, who's an Australian citizen that's been effectively held in some kind of confined custody or confinement due to political actions by politicians intervening in the justice system, politicians intervening in the judicial process, the media telling lies about him, blatant lies, inexcusable blatant lies, accusing him of being a rapist and those kinds of things. And he's an Australian citizen who's done, as far as we're aware, absolutely nothing wrong. He's exposed crimes of public officials that have never been investigated or prosecuted, if applicable. So if we don't stand up for the rights of other Australians, who do we expect to stand up for us if we need someone to stand up for our rights? So that's why we're here. We want everybody to know the name and tell their local people and their politicians and everything, we want them to get off their derrieres. That's a French word for what they do in Canberra. Sit on the behind or talk. We'd like to see some action. We were very fortunate last week to be visited by one of Australia's most famous jurists, Michael Kirby, who's the most honourable member of our highest court, Australian High Court, for many years. He's been a great advocate for human rights. As far as I know, he's been a great supporter of justice for Assange, as have many other lawyers. Unfortunately, the lawyers in the British judicial system have been absolutely despicable in holding Julian over on remand, on trumped up charges. He could have been, the very least, he should have been out on bail. Their excuse is he's a flight risk. Well, they only spent millions and millions of pounds to have policemen watching him 24 hours a day while he was in the Ecuadorian embassy, so they can obviously afford to keep an eye on him. We're here every Friday at 5. Please come and join us. All supporters for justice are welcome. We're not a group of people, we're just concerned individuals. We're Liberal, Labor, Greens and other types of voters. We don't care. This is something that's far more important than party politics. This is a-party political stuff. This is about justice for a citizen of this country.
Welcome to the 118th week of Julian Assange Sydney Town Hall gatherings. Julian Assange exposed corruption, crimes against humanity, and the complicity of politicians and media by making information the elite didn't want ordinary people to know publicly available. Through Julian's journalism, we now know never to trust the narratives pushed by mainstream media. The media that now try to suggest that we should trust them are desperately attempting to remain relevant. But unless they start publishing evidence in the way Julian did, they are not worth our attention. The role of the media is to distract us from doing what we need to be doing. We need to be creating unity among people so that we have the power to defeat the corruption and lies that are continuing to create misery for human beings around the world. The media lie and focus our attention on psychological operations or real events that serve as psychological operations, rather than helping us to deal with the reality of the oppression we all face. We must realise the media exists to help the elite maintain control over us. Human beings want to live in peace, without torture, censorship, or psychological manipulation. Good on ya. Good on ya. Hey. Woo. While the lies of the elite receive our attention, the elite remain powerful, and we remain slaves to be manipulated and sacrificed for the benefit of the elite. We become powerful and free when we see through the media distractions. We become powerful when we each stand on our own feet and realise we are each capable of judging the validity of evidence for ourselves. Scientific journalism is theoretically free of bias. Any argument that can be made requires facts based on hard evidence, if it is to be accepted as valid. Truth is not biased. Julian Assange is in prison today because he successfully carried out scientific journalism that made it impossible for criminals to hide behind an allegiance to a particular brand of politics. Scientific journalism has shown us that criminality lies on both left and right sides of the political divide. Australia is at the centre of it. While Julian Assange can continue to be persecuted for publishing evidence, no one can be free. The struggle for truth is the struggle for freedom. Establishing the truth will always remain vital to the survival of humanity. We have seen too many atrocities arising when people are blamed without evidence. The current political agenda of discriminating between people has no medically sound basis, yet it has the effect of dividing us. We must overcome this kind of discrimination and unite for the good of humanity. To know the truth, we must be free in our minds. If not, we will be slaves to those who lie to us. We must free ourselves from the left-right propaganda of the mainstream media. We must be able to see the evidence that contradicts the need for our subservience to illegitimate power. Julian Assange should be free, completely free. Anything less is clear evidence that our system is absolutely corrupt and that we need to unite and replace this system with one that is incorruptible. We must stay with the truth, and we must distrust all systems that are capable of imprisoning an innocent award-winning journalist for revealing evidence of high-level crimes. Free Julian Assange. Free Julian Assange. Free Julian Assange. Inmate.
Our mate.
Julian Assange.
Inmate.
Our mate.
Julian Assange.
Only one decision.
No extradition.
There is only one decision.
No extradition.
Free, free.
Julian Assange.
Free, free.
Julian Assange.
Free, free. Thank you.
We're here to get a little bit of justice for dear Julian Assange. I got my signature tune. I'll see if I can remember this. This is for Mr. Morrison. He's got a bad habit. Can't help myself. Bad habits. Well, running wild, lost control. It's a shame to see that a boy like me has got so many bad habits. Well, I'm off the rails, my resistance fails. The temptation's got a hold on me. Well, I'm in a mess because I can't practice all of these bad habits. Well, it just ain't right, but it's something I can find. Can't stop going out and having fun. Oh, well, I tried to be good, but I couldn't, 'cause I've got more bad habits than anyone. Oh, well, I get the urge, got to slow. I'm a slave to all my desires. Well, I'm in a mess, 'cause I can't repress all of these bad habits. Oh, help me now. It's a bad habit. Bad habit. Running out, having fun. Oh, it's a shame to see that a boy like me has got so many bad habits. Oh, it just ain't right. It's something I can find. I can't stop going out and having fun. I try to be good, but I knew I never could. 'Cause I've got more bad habits than anyone. When I get the urge, got to slow. I'm a slave to all my desires. Well, I'm in a mess because I can't repress all of these bad habits. All of these bad habits. Oh, all of these bad habits. Oh, woo!
We are all Assange.